Pulp MX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the LVK More Than Moto podcast. I am Kellen Brauer, joined by Phillips, as always, and we're excited, man. 2 rounds into this championship, and it's delivering. The goods have been delivered. 250 class is very interesting. Hayden Deegan has not been, I feel like, his normal self. Joe Shimoda, broken fingers. Julien Beaumer wins round 2. And then the 450 class, a completely different podium from round 1 to round 2. So this is, I feel like, as good as it gets. But yeah, this is going to be a fun show, Lewis. Are you excited? I'm excited.
I'm excited, Kellen. And if you're excited, I'm excited because I care about you and I feed off of your energy. When you're low, I'm low.
No.
That's the type of guy I am.
Is that why our show was so bad last year? Because I was so low so much?
Well, I think I was equally as low. So I think we just had a bad average.
Of those things I just listed, though, what has you like the most excited? Like the multiple podiums, the Juju situation? Like what's got you peaked at the moment?
I mean, I don't know if it was on your list, but just Eli, Jet, and Chase being so good.
Yeah.
At the same time.
It's pretty darn good.
Honestly, like, genuinely, this is no joke. As we're now talking about this, I've just got goosebumps a little bit because my mind has started to go, yeah, you know what? They really are good, aren't they? And then I'm like, oh, this happened. You know, I mean, not to be Debbie Downer in the first 1 minute of the show, but allow me to be Debbie Downer within the first 1 minute of the show. It is true that every single year after round 2, you're this excited because it always seems to be. So perhaps there's a bit of me with a little bit of trepidation, but the way it's shaping up, it does seem as though it's going to be very, very good for the long haul.
I agree with you, but I will say the difference I feel is that after round 2, everything's close. The podiums are chaotic, yes, but we don't normally in the first couple of rounds have that kind of mano-a-mano battle that we got with Jet and Eli this weekend. Like, that maybe happens at round 10 when the championships have been established and they get out front all the time and stuff like that, but we don't get that kind of race early, usually, I feel like.
Yeah. My cautionary tale, though, is 2012. We had 4 winners in the first 4 rounds. Superb. We probably won't have that this year, for instance. But that ended up being arguably the worst Supercross season in the history of the world. So that's my cautionary tale.
I was literally the whole time you were saying that, I was trying to rack my brain. Villo, Dunge, Reed, Stu, first 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then that was the year where everyone got injured.
Yeah,
everyone. Including Villapoto, who won the championship.
Don't put the bad voodoo on it, then. We're just all good vibes, and it's going to be great.
So we have good voodoo because Chase is alive, which could have not been the situation. So clearly the trend is uphill. Or no, downhill? What would be good? Uphill.
Yes.
Yes.
I think
you don't want, but then walking uphill is hard. Would you not want to be downhill because then you've got momentum?
Yeah. I think
no one knows.
One of the cool parts about having so much media at the first couple rounds is that I feel like if that Chase thing happened deeper in the season, we might not have seen it. There are so many angles out of that near miss now. Like, so many different people have a back angle and a side angle, and TV has an angle from, overhead. And like, I thought everyone would just have missed that because of the first lap cameras being focused on the leaders. But man, that was close.
Well, I saw it with my eyes, and that was enough to scar me for the rest of my life.
Do you think, I saw someone say the riders that double the triple on the first lap should really take advantage of the fact there's no tough blocks on the triple landing and just exit stage right or left depending on which side of the track they are? Like, do you think more guys should consider that?
I guess it's, what would you call it? Risk versus reward, because if you do that, you're basically going to put yourself back to last, because then you've got to rejoin, and that's difficult. So in your head, in the moment, you would be like, I'm sure I'll be fine. It's worth risking, because chances are you will be fine, because as far as you know, everyone behind you has doubled.
Yeah.
So I'll keep my 10th place and risk it.
Yeah.
So I guess I can see that being the line of thinking, but oh my. That was oh my. That's all I have to say. Oh my.
I think the worst aesthetic of that was the fact that Chase looked back to the left so unsuspectingly, like had no idea someone had jumped to the right, you know? Like there was such a narrow gap in which Ferrandis could have landed. And watching the replay of it too, Ferrandis took off like pretty middle. So I don't know how he figured out how to steer that far to the right off the very top of the jump / in the air, contorting his body to get over there. But I mean, just sheer luck that Chase didn't get landed on, really, I feel like.
I mean, it will be a testament to Chase's mental strength, because if I was Chase, I would be scarred for every first lap for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That would be on my mind on the start line for Anaheim 2 main event.
Sure, of course.
And I think that's just a human reaction.
Oh, maybe it'll scare him into better starts.
Well, I mean, his starts have been fairly good so far. I was actually thinking this. I was going to look into it. I don't know if anyone, like, who has been the best starter this year? I feel like everyone's had one good start, one bad start. Like, the averages, there's not a good average for anyone.
You know,
even Prado.
Yeah, well, Prado, I mean, he's been probably the closest to having like consistently good starts. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Webb. Webb's had some pretty good starts.
No, because he was ninth on lap 1 A1.
At A1, yeah. I just mean
but even still, that may still put him good average wise, because everyone else is so haywire. I mean, Prado was 16th on lap 1
Kenny?
in San Diego, so he's out.
Kenny's been pretty solid, all 4.
Yeah, I think it would be Kenny. Hold on. Kenny was 3rd in San Diego. Yeah, it's Kenny. Well done, Kenny.
Well done, Kenny. Ripping the Suzuki out there. All right, let's get into the show. I'm going to jump into my topics. Big shout out, of course, to Namura, Race Second, Partzilla. We'll tell you guys more about them throughout the show. So my first topic of the day, 7 minutes on the clock. Julien Beaumer wins round 2 of this championship. And look, we talked about it last week. The step up has been impressive. But it's starting to build into something more than that. It's snowballing into obvious a championship run potentially this year. Are you at the point now with 2 rounds of this juju that like we're here? Like this is not going away over this championship?
Yes, 100%.
And
final answer.
What have you seen that has like elicited that, aside from just like the raw speed? Because like in the past, that raw speed has been somewhat there for Juju, not this level, but this level combined with the starts, combined with the consistency, the whole main event distance, like what to you has been the standout?
Well, first of all, let me go back. So you remember your hot take on Pulp, which was that Juju would win multiple races?
Multiple
podium.
Win.
Was it podium
wins.
or win though?
Win.
Okay. You got a lot of applause for that. Oh, that is a hot take. Not from me, Kellen. I listened and I shook my head and went, that's not even warm.
Oh, okay.
Because I personally expected that from Juju last year. At least one win. I genuinely thought Juju could win last year going into the season. So, in my opinion, it would have been a failure if he didn't at least win once this year, let alone multiple. So I saw this coming all along, and it wasn't even on my radar as some sort of surprise. I feel like Juju should have been better last year.
That's
so
interesting.
Rather than this being a step up, this is correcting course.
So we didn't get a chance to do like a preview show together because you missed the first show. Cade came in, so we kind of powwowed about 250 West a little bit.
It was the worst show ever.
Yes. In your opinion, then, rolling into the season, you were like, for sure Deegan, for sure Kitchen, and then like Juju, Joe, Jordan should win races too?
Yes.
So like
Juju was 3rd behind Deegs and Kitchen.
Even above Joe? Really?
Yep. If I had to bet on either Joe or Juju winning a race, I would have bet on Juju.
Is that just like because, like you said, the build, or like I said too, the building blocks from last year, you thought it was the steps were there, or
no? I just got swept up in the hype. I mean, we all saw how good he was in futures. The flying at the test track idea was kind of there last year as well, not as prominent, but it was in the universe. I feel like we've always known that Juju has the raw skill to be amazing at Supercross and battle with anyone. Now, his downfall will come when we go to Indy for an East-West showdown and rutty tracks like that. And if there is a mudder, like potentially at Anaheim too, because as we saw last year, he's not so good at that. So, but we had so many of those races last year that I feel like they caused his stock to drop and also the perception of what he is to drop. Mm-hmm. If we had a season like we are having this year, last year, where hard pack, typical West Coast tracks, I think Juju would have been a million times better. I don't even believe that's a statement. I think that's just obvious. It's like saying the sky is blue.
Yeah. I think Juju is also closing the book on something that has been a much talked about thing with the KTM group for a while, and that they struggle to take in-house talent to success. And like obviously like Voland and those guys are recent successes and stuff like that. But I think Juju, and I could be wrong and you pull a name out of the hat here, I think Juju might be the first in-house factory KTM American to win since Hansen. So
okay, so you're not counting TLD.
Right.
Justin Hill never won on a KTM.
No.
Has there even been another rider?
I think they've had other Americans. Have they not? Like
on a 250? I mean, all I'm thinking is Marvin. That's the only rider on my mind.
Who was the 250 riders when they first came back as Red Bull KTM with Alessi and Short? Did they have any? Like Marvin was supposed to be, and Roxon did some races. Did they have a different one that I'm missing?
I want to say no because I cannot remember one.
But the point being is that was a little bit of the rumblings, I feel like, in that Red Bull KTM or KTM in general, the amateur talent was getting dispersed to other teams by the time it got to the high level rankings, which is totally accurate. Like, and it still is happening. But Juju finally is like the one that stuck with the program, did the work, and it now is working. So I feel like that's kind of a bit of a shock, no?
Okay, well, counter. Could you argue that seeing as he was picked up so effectively he was picked up when his amateur career had finished? So does it really count as taking a rider through the system? Or is it just a hire that worked out? Because
I guess, but his whole
stigma is the whole bringing riders up through the system and taking them pro and then turning them into winners.
Yes,
technically, could you argue that they haven't turned Juju into a winner?
No,
maybe.
But his whole last year being an amateur was under the KTM umbrella, and like
I just feel like at that point it's so late in the day that perhaps it falls under a separate category.
So to you don't look at this as like a win for KTM's amateur development.
No. I definitely. Oh, okay. Specifically, a win for KTM's amateur development.
Well, amateur to pro, like that, making that transition the smooth and
not amateur development, because to me, amateur development means a rider who's been developed from
day one.
Super Minis.
Yeah.
A win for their 250 talent scouting department. Yes.
Okay.
And the win for their 250 program as a whole, yes.
Yeah. But
less so the amateur wing, other than talent scouting.
Do you agree or disagree that was a much needed thing though? Like, and we're giving some props obviously to Daniel Blair, who's not there anymore, who has been scouting talent and been trying to keep guys there. Cole Davies should have been a recent success story that didn't work out because they went to Star, and the same thing was going to happen with Cade Minear. But like DB making it work with Juju, and then KTM actually making that transition work, I feel like is a very positive reflection that they did not have before.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, not that I ever bought into the idea that KTM isn't good enough to achieve great things in the 250 class, but for those that did, it certainly kind of shelves that.
Yeah.
And maybe there are prospective talents who were concerned about the stigma surrounding their 250 program who are now going to be more open to the idea of riding for KTM. I mean, I don't even believe that was true, because I think if you're offered a factory KTM deal, you grab it with both hands. But clearly that idea was out there.
Okay, we're out of time, but I'll ask you one more question about this. Juju now has, what is it, like 8-10 points over Deegan in the championship. Do you foresee Deegan stopping the bleeding soon, or we have bigger problems on our hand?
I think Juju can go toe-to-toe with Deegan in just about every category, except soft rutted tracks and mudders.
Well, unless it rains this weekend, we're not going to have many of those aside from Seattle.
Well, Indy, East-West Showdown.
Okay, yeah, Showdown's right. I forgot. But like Denver, Salt Lake.
I don't know
that's
where the
gonna
other. I think the other
Glendale.
showdown is Philly, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I forget. But you're right. The East-West Showdowns for sure will play a factor. Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. But I think it's probably pretty established, these two guys now, especially the Shimoda hand injury.
Oh, 100%. 100%. This is Deegs versus Juju.
And Jordan tickling the podium week after week. But yeah, very interesting. Big thanks, of course, to Namura, the leading provider of engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 2 decades. Namura has been the preferred choice for premium and dependable engine components for more than 20 years. Whether you're restoring your vintage bike, rebuilding your four-wheeler, or upgrading your new 450 race motor, Namura has you covered. Our extensive line of cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and soon cylinder kits that enhance your engine's performance. Keep an eye out for our new and innovative products in 2024 and beyond. Stay up to date by following us on Instagram at Namura_technologies. All right, my second topic goes right back into the 250 class because we had the Joe Shimoda incident this weekend, hitting a pit board, the broken finger. We all saw it. Everyone saw the images, even if you didn't want to see the images. And a valiant 7th. I mean, incredible ride, no question about it, for Joe to even get that in the first place. But there's been the reignited talk from this that why are we still doing pit boards in 2025 and radio communications is becoming more and more affordable, cheap, and perhaps needed in this sport, especially when you consider what happened in the Vince Freeze incident. So my open-ended question to you, Lewis, is how many more of these types of things are going to happen before we just say, you know what, it really is time for radio communication?
Well, counter, how much stuff like this has happened?
Okay, so not the pit board thing specifically, but the Vince
so now
thing.
we are sugarcoating data.
No, because the pit board thing is an extension of this. The main problem with the radio communication situation that I see is we could, in my opinion, absolutely clean up blue flag situations in a heartbeat with radio communication and or LED lights on the bar pad so that it's very obvious, hey, you're getting lapped. Vince looked at 4 or 5 blue flags before he moved out of the way, so that's on him, obviously. But more and more guys, if they had a blinking blue light on their handlebars, would probably react to that slightly differently. But the radio communication would certainly help it. It would also help red flag situations or red cross flag situations, like the red flag in the LCQ this weekend, for example. There's only one red flag that ended up on the middle of the track, and Varese and Walsh were trying to kill each other, rolling everything until they got to the finish line. Again, radio communication would have solved that. So I think there's a lot of layers to this that make radio communication more and more obvious.
Okay, I'm going to look out for you here, Kellen. This is why people say you contradict yourself, because you started this argument by only pointing out the Shimoda incident.
No, I said the Vince incident too.
No, that was in your second. That was after.
I started with the Vince incident.
We'll have to check the tape. But now you've just got into a long speech and not mentioned the Joe situation, which you started with.
It's the latest thing in a long list of things that could be fixed with radio communication. We don't need pit boards hanging out 7 feet onto the start straight anymore. We don't need mechanics getting shoved out of the way by these barricades getting pushed back because riders test the limits of it every single week. So yes, that is part of it.
I would argue that the information on a pit board could not be transmitted via radio because you're not going to have a rider cross the finish line and then be going to them, okay, that was a 1 minute 02.95 and Chase Sexton behind you did a 1, like that's just not going to work.
They don't do that on the pit board. What are you talking about?
No, but that is what the pit board has lap time compared to the other guy.
Yeah, so the guy crosses a finish line jump, and the next time he hits a dead air spot over a triple, or if he starts rolling, you say, that time was a blank. You are P1, P3. Like, you only have to talk for
okay, you're talking
3
about
seconds.
qualifying. Qualifying, yes. I'm talking about in a race.
Okay, in a race, in-helmet communication could be, last time by 57.1, behind you 56.9. Supercross.
I think that's
triple.
too much information for the riders in a race.
But that's what they put on the pit board.
But realistically, no one looks at that.
So why do we even have pit boards? The riders 90% of the time say, like, I don't even look. It's in a bad spot.
This would never work. This would never work. And I realize the immediate counter to this is going to be it would decapitate some riders. But I'm going to go ahead with it anyway. Would it not be better if the mechanics area was raised? Like, say you're stood on a platform and then you're putting the pit board down into the rider's eyesight, because then it's quicker to get it out of their way. Maybe it's easier for them to see. It would never work logistically, and then in the instance when a rider does hit a pit board, they are going to be decapitated. So those are two major issues.
If you
on
pull
the
the
front
pit board
end, I
sideways,
acknowledge
it
that.
neck. Yeah,
and I acknowledge that on the front end. But just because people may die doesn't mean it's a bad idea.
That's kind of MXGP a little bit, isn't it? They have that like dirt barricade
No, they're still on the ground.
Yeah, but I feel like it's slightly raised.
No.
Really? Okay.
They are in MXGP though. They are further from the track.
Yeah, because it's a dirt barricade.
Yeah. Whereas in America, you're literally there.
Right.
But also, if you literally would not want to hit an MXGP pit board because it is basically one of the F1 pit boards.
I don't. Yes, I shouldn't have maybe let off so strongly with the Shimoda thing as the poster board situation.
Yeah, you've lost me because
I
it's
genuinely.
like saying,
I've said for 4 or 5 years now we should be doing radio communication, like, period, end of story. Not even like a debate, because like aside from this situation, aside from all the red flag, red cross, yellow flag, blue flag situations that could be helped by this, as a fan experience, we're way behind. NASCAR, F1, IndyCar, all these other motorsports have ways for fans to listen to radio communication live as it happens.
well, Mike Bonacci is listening to this.
I understand
probably.
that.
Where is he with his system?
He's working on it, sir. But the
Okay.
point being is that, like, we want to talk about bringing Supercross to the new age and how can we do it better. And we finally, after 20 years, have a new timing system which shows us sector times, and we can actually on the TV see like, oh, he's only 0.2 off because he's through sector 3, and this is how far back he is. But I feel like this isn't even a debate. We should have radio communication for that reason alone.
I'm going to sum up what you've done here, Kellen, by mispositioning yourself with the Shimoda argument. Essentially, what you've done is said something like, we should murder all of the pedophiles in the world because I don't like their shoes. And then I'm going to go, well, I don't know if not liking their shoes is a reason to murder them. And then your second point is, well, they've also done unspeakable things to children. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I don't know why it took you a while to get there. We've started with a point that isn't quite relevant, but okay.
It is relevant.
You've got me, but I'm already questioning the validity of your argument based on the fact that we took a while to get there.
Okay, but it is relevant because, as I said, the Shimoda incident is the latest incident in a long list of problems that not having these types of communication devices just as the norm has generated.
I said this multiple places. Every single time I've been told I'm an idiot. But again, why let that stop you? Does Joe have to take a fraction of the blame because every week the pit boards are in the same position to have some spatial awareness of where they will be?
No.
I know everyone says that, and I don't even know if I believe it anymore. Just an idea, just bit of patter, bit of conversation starter.
Because every single rider rides by. I mean, I would cater to say that Shimoda was not as far left as more riders were that day. Like, I bet there was guys that were even further to the left than he was, like tickling the, clutch along those boards.
Is that because of better spatial awareness?
I don't think it has to do with spatial
I'm
awareness. I think it has to do with an understanded expectation that, yes, mechanics will put the pit board out and you're going to be doing this, going towards it, but it's their job to pull it back.
Okay, so basically you're putting too much trust. You're playing chicken with a pit board.
But every rider does. It's just the nature of the business.
So, okay, rephrase my question. Does Joe need to get better at playing chicken?
No, because he won. He didn't chicken out. He kept it pinned.
That's similar to the dodgeball movie, where if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. They need to start throwing wrenches at riders and being like, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a pit board.
You lost me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The answer to that question is yes.
Well, my answer to that question is we just need radio communication because we need.
It makes complete sense for the Vince thing and the red flag thing. That's all great. You lost me with the basis of your argument being Shimoda.
It's not the basis. It's just the latest thing
that was
that's
the
happened.
Very first.
It's the latest thing that's happened. That's also
first impressions count, Kellen. First impressions count.
Yeah. Apparently, I need to start off by saying, "Hey, Vince blocked the field for half a lap."
And I'm like, yes, Kellen, preach.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic. Well, we need updated technology in the sport the same way that Racetech has been updating their technology year after year and providing high-quality suspension components for you and I across all the board. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with those high-quality suspension components, and they're made right here in the USA. For modern and vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance, so we thank them so much for being a part of the show. All right, my third topic, Lewis. And I told you before I didn't want to just be like, take said rider discuss, but I do want to do this with, I do want to do this with Cooper Webb because Cooper Webb crashed hard in the offseason and that was not really talked about. He also has been sick, sort of not really at A1, but definitely this week. And he starts the year going 4-3. Now in the past, we have seen Cooper Webb have pretty good starts to the year, but for the most part, this is kind of what he does. Start slow. I don't want to say slow, but start not winning races. And then by mid-season, he's clicking off wins. So in a way, I was looking at these results and going, this is a win. Like these two results for Cooper Webb in the first two races of the year are very good for where he hopes to align in this championship. But what say you about a 4-3 for Cooper Webb? Okay,
well, first of all, I've just looked. This is officially the second best start that he's ever had to a 450 Supercross season. In fact, this is a better start to the season than all but one of his 250 Supercross seasons.
Wow.
So that alone raised the roof for Cooper Webb. The only time that he was started a season better than this was 2 years ago. So not even in a championship winning season. I do wonder if it continues this way, which is a massive if, with Jet, Chase, and Eli seemingly at their very, very, very best level, does that render Webb's superpower less effective?
Like in terms of starting consistent and they're going to fluctuate kind of thing?
Yes, that, but also late in the main event, being able to muscle around and pick your spot. Easier to do that with one guy, not so easy to do that with three guys.
Yes, you're right. And I these guys starting as well as they have is certainly a bit of a cause concern for him, especially because he whole shot the main event, or more or less whole shot the main event this week and went back to third. And I know that the fans in general have been like, that shouldn't happen. He's Cooper Webb. He's better than this. But I mean, God.
Really? Have you seen that? I haven't seen that.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
But dude, if you saw him in the post-race press conference and after the race, he was like, he looked like this. He was like barely standing pretty much. So, anyway, I feel like for Webb that this is going to work out great. I mean, I know that like it's not going to be ideal that those guys are going as fast as they are, but I feel like when we get to the rounds where Webb has always shined when it gets rutted and crappy and deep, and his starts have been, I feel like, fairly good so far. Yes, not consistently perfect, but overall pretty solid, that we're suddenly going to be close to Daytona and he's going to be 2 or 3 points off the lead, 5 points, whatever it is you want to say. And legitimately, we're going to be like, damn, these guys should have put him to bed earlier.
Yeah, I agree. And for the record, I'm the guy all off season who was saying that Webb is plenty fast enough. The fact that we just talk about his ability to be sneaky is a discredit to him. So I am that guy for the record. But yeah, I do believe that the way this is shaping up does make it more difficult for him to shine, essentially. That doesn't mean that I don't think he'll be a factor. That doesn't mean that I don't think he'll win the championship. But it is going to be more difficult. Because essentially, Webb is great at spotting a gap and taking advantage. I just feel like with Jet, Chase, and Eli seemingly on this level, there will be less gap to take advantage of. So then I don't know what Webb does with that situation.
Yeah, to me, I think the next 2 weeks are the biggest test for him. And it might rain in Anaheim this weekend. I kind of tend to believe it'll end up being okay, but
it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I think that if he can make it through Anaheim and Glendale, which tend to be I feel like more so than A1, A2 looks like slicker because the dirt has been in the stadium longer, so it's harder, faster. So it's going to be super hard pack and dry this weekend if we get no rain. And then Glendale is obviously, it's Glendale. It's very slick, very dry. And that is not the conditions that Cooper Webb has ever really excelled at. So I think if he gets through these next couple weeks doing the exact same thing he's done, I think we're on. I think that even if those guys go 1-2, 2-1 or whatever ahead of him, he's only going to be 12 points back heading to the kind of dirt that he's going to probably win a lot of races on.
I asked this question on the Vital post-race show, and I'll put it to you. Last year, Webb was incredible at Anaheim too, as far as raw speed and just across the Triple Crown format, he was amazing. We know that Glendale isn't his best track or his best setting. It never has been, never will be. Is it important for Webb to have one of those very impressive, standout, speedy rides before we go east, just to set the tone? Or is it kind of irrelevant?
No, I do think that we need to see a flash the next 2 weeks as well. And to be honest,
is leading 10 laps not a flash?
Well, I was going to say, to be honest, San Diego, so many people were so down on that, or I saw people that were down on that. But to me, I'm like, that was pretty damn good because Eli and Jet were very obviously on a different level. But it's not like Webb and Roczen were just worked. They stayed relatively close for most of the race. And Webb got better as the race went on because Roczen was really, I thought Roczen was going to get him and drop him halfway through the race. And then Webb found another zone, even though he was probably exhausted, tired from his sickness in the last 5 minutes like he always does. So to me, I thought damn, that, sure, whole shot to third isn't great, but that was pretty solid. So I think we already maybe saw a bit of a flash, but I think again, probably in the next 2 races, we need to see probably that again and or a second place.
Yeah, I would agree. And I don't he led 10 laps in San Diego, but it wasn't like he was holding anyone up. It's not like it was oh my God, this guy. He was holding his own. And then with the sickness, I would imagine that once he got past, the adrenaline went, the balloon was burst a little bit.
Yeah.
It was fine. I don't believe there was any reason to criticize or panic or be negative in any shape or form.
So for you, I think it's been pretty established that it's, the 1, 2, 3, 4 bikes on the track are the guys. But we're now 2 rounds in, and Kenny Roczen, he was a podium this week away from being tied for the championship lead. Is he part of this established core now? Can we say that we're getting to the point where Roczen is just in the top 5 guys?
Oh, in the top 5 guys?
In terms of this championship fight?
Yes, outside of those 4, I think that without doubt... Yeah, outside of those 4, without doubt, Roczen is the next guy, as he was last year.
But he's kind of in the group is what I mean, so far.
Yeah, I would still give him the 5th position.
Okay.
It's hard. What do you do with this? We have so much data on Kenny that tells us this is not sustainable. But yet it's going so well that you're kind of a dick if you sit here and go, yeah, this won't last. And there's no reason to think this won't last because based on what we've seen so far, he's amazing. So I don't know how you handle that.
Yeah, I agree.
Is he going to win a championship? No. That I can say.
February.
But is he going to be competitive? Sure. I have no reason apart from data from the past, which is kind of irrelevant. The past is the past. It can't hurt you anymore. It's in the past.
I think to me February is going to be where this championship is won or lost. Like I think the guy that catches the most momentum in February is going to win, because I think that's like how momentum dependent this title fight will be. So if Roczen is part of that group, then he could absolutely be a threat down the stretch. But February's never really been a Roczen month. January has been, like you said last show. So,
well, thanks everyone for coming out to the Roczen trying to get back in Kenny's good books segment.
Stop it.
I'm joking.
Okay.
I'm joking.
All right, that's my topics done. But hey, big shout out to Partzilla, folks. Partzilla.com is the premier OEM parts dealer and distributor. They sell OEM parts for Honda, Kawasaki, Polaris, Can-Am, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Yamaha motorcycles, ATVs, PWCs, and snowmobiles. Visit Partzilla.com to see their extensive line of parts and accessories. And they, of course, are supporting the Partzilla PRMX team. Hunter Yoder, 10th this weekend. We're making progress towards that top 5 you and I theorized.
And maybe more importantly, he was 4th in Sector 2 in the main event. Probably not more importantly. Probably slightly less importantly.
Sector 2, like after the finish? So the switchbacks?
Yeah, the switchbacks.
Yeah.
Or the triples. Somewhere around there.
And the triples.
I'll tell you what, though, I think I was uneducated. I didn't quite realize how big and prominent Partzilla are.
In terms
I think there's probably some listeners out there that are similar, so maybe check it out and educate yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah,
and if you do wreck yourself, head to Partzilla because they'll have some parts that will help you get back on track.
Look for the deals too. There's some good deals over there. So a lot of different things that they support, and I feel like our northern friends of the Great White North probably check out Partzilla for all the snowmobile parts that they offer over at Partzilla.com too. So I know we have a cold front going on across the country and in Canada. All right, Lewis, what do you got for me this week, buddy?
Oh, is it my turn already? Time flies. I have 5 topics. I'm just trying to figure out where to go first. How about this? Who is most likely to deliver KTM a Supercross championship this year? Juju or Tom? Feel like that is tough.
Yes, it is tough. I still think I would lean Tom.
Oh, it's especially tough without seeing.
Yeah, it is, but I mean,
at this point, I have a tough time believing that Tom will be able to outduel Kitchen and RJ. I think if Kitchen and RJ were West, then I think I would go Tom as well. Then obviously Juju's situation would be different also. But point being, I think Tom has a much better chance against the traditional East Coast field. I think I'd go Juju.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's obviously in the position to do that right now, so that it's tough, like you said, without seeing Tom.
Yeah, technically, you could say that Juju is the safest pick, just purely because we have evidence. Mm-hmm. If I add Chase to this group, is Chase the automatic answer?
No, I don't think so.
No, because it's harder for him to win than the others.
Yes, I think that to be honest, like the percentages are probably fairly even across the board, though. I would say, as of right now, I'd give Juju, let's say, 40% chance he wins this title. I would probably say close-ish for Tom, 30% if you want to go that low, and probably around the same for Chase, as of right now.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why it's such a good question.
It is a good question, Lewis.
I think I go Juju purely because I think if Deegan doesn't win this title, then Juju wins it. Whereas if Eli doesn't win this title, it could be Jet, Chase, or Webb. And if Jet doesn't, there's more at play. And if Vial doesn't win this title, it could be RJ, it could be Levi, it could be Max, it could be anyone else. So technically, not only do we have evidence for Juju, but technically, his odds are higher because he has less competition.
Can I ask? Yes, you're right. Technically, Juju in that situation. But can I ask you, is Tom your favorite going into East? Who's your clear-cut favorite?
RJ or Levi? Probably Levi, because I don't know where RJ is at health-wise.
So if you're doing like a percent pie of 250 East, you're giving them like 40% each, Tom 20?
No, I'm probably giving Levi 30, RJ 30, Tom 20, Anstey 20.
I feel like that's kind of bold, though, to say that Tom, who won multiple races and a title last year, versus Max, who has, only a couple race wins so far and hasn't really like gone deep in a championship fight, that it would be even.
Well, okay, how about this? Tom only won one more race than Max last year.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
And technically, career-wise, they're on the same number of 250 wins.
So you're right, because then Max won the year before.
Yeah, and you could say that Max has been around longer, but technically, both of their wins have come in the last 2 seasons. So,
okay, all right, you've convinced me. Even.
Honestly, Max needs to, it's time. If it doesn't happen this year, then but it's time.
I think that's kind of obvious. Like, he's kind of old, Lewis.
No, but not even from that perspective. Like, obviously, last year it wasn't time because we didn't really have faith that Firepower Honda could compete for a title against Star, etc. So now that's not a problem. It's set up, kind of thing. I actually used the dodgeball example for him last week as well, by the way.
Dodgeball.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Oh.
Told him East Coast is going to be so stacked that dipping and diving on the first lap is going to be very important.
Yeah.
Maybe he should dip, dive, dodge, duck, and dodge, or whatever the other one was. And I said, maybe we throw wrenches at you, and then if you could dodge a ball, if you could dodge a wrench, you can dodge a bike on lap 1.
I think the Star team is kind of full of those guys, to be honest. It's put up or shut up.
Guys?
Like, put up or shut up now. Like, it's Deegan's time to win a Supercross title. It's Anstey's time to deliver the goods. It's Pierce Brown's time to not be stuck getting 5th place starts. It's honestly like Nate Thrasher's time to stop getting hurt and being a front runner.
And
you know what I mean?
It's Bennick's time to prove he deserves that ride.
Yeah. Like, here's Cole Davies. Here he is. Like, this is the silver platter of guys coming behind you. And Meneer will probably follow. So figure it out. You know what I mean?
Fair.
So,
a little subtopic.
Go ahead.
I'm going to break the mold of the show. Little subtopic. What does Michael Moserman have to do to justify this as a career resurrection?
Make every round.
Is that it? That's a low bar.
Dude.
No, because let's be honest. If he makes every round and has one top 10, you're not sitting here and complimenting him.
Well, okay, yes. Like, did he get top 10 this week? It was 10th, right?
Yeah, 9th. Yoda was 10th.
If he doesn't get top 10 from here, yes, absolutely. That's a disaster, especially if he makes every round. But I just think, like, just some semblance of top 10, get 1 or 2 top 5s, maybe, like, tickle the top 5 once or twice, and just don't get hurt. Don't cartwheel. Don't have a bad moment. Like, he just needs to survive.
I don't know if that, like, career resurrection in my mind leads to further opportunities, etc., etc. I don't know if that is enough to unlock the padlock to future years.
It might not be the padlock to unlock future years with Star, but I feel like the debate really could have been made in the last year and a half that he would retire. And
100%.
So now I feel like we're not there if he has a full season of getting mostly top 10s on a Star bike. I feel like that's ample opportunity for a Firepower or another team like that to go, well, let's bring him in. He's a veteran. He'll bring experience now.
I don't know. I believe that actually, not to use the word damaged goods because that's not fair, but his reputation precedes him so much that I think the results need to be overwhelmingly positive to tempt someone to take the risk. Essentially, the risk is so high, the reward needs to be exceptionally high.
Yes, but I think the reason he got the spot on Star in the first place is because that reward still exists. He's a race winner, and people are always going to want to work with speed. I bet you he ends up at Club next year.
Okay, I can take that, but I don't know.
Because I feel like he'll have the season we're talking about. It's not going to be flashy with Star, But then Club will look at that and be like, we can fix that. Brandon Haas will be like, I know what's wrong right there. Let's go in and make it happen. You know what I mean?
That makes complete sense, and I completely agree. But I still believe there would be some trepidation on Club's part, where they're like, okay, this could go great, but it could also go terribly.
Yeah. It's Michael Mosiman. That's pretty much every day of the week. So
dare I say that he has to quite quickly become like a consistent top 5 guy?
No, I'm not there.
No, in this field,
I feel like there's a very established top 5 already. So he has to.
Okay, top 6.
Yeah, 6th or 7th kind of every week he should be, I think.
Yeah, and anything less than that, I think a team like Club would maybe be like, hey, we could rebuild him, but then he's only going to get 7th. And the risk of him going sideways is even greater. Is it really worth taking that risk for a 7th place? Maybe where there's another rider who can get 7th, who's much less riskier. We'd rather continue to push Jet Reynolds to 7th place. Although maybe a bad example because Jet Reynolds is arguably just as risky.
Well, yeah, I mean from the standpoint of like, and look, I love Devin Simonson, but if you told Club the contracts wouldn't be equal, but just say they are contracts be equal, you can have Michael Mosiman or Devin Simonson. I feel like I know what they're going to pick.
Yeah, that's why Club is a difficult example.
Yeah, so
because with their roster at the moment, yes, and Michael Mosiman would be quite attractive. So I guess that also skews the answer, what the current landscape is.
Sure, but that's what I mean. Like, I think that there's going to be teams out there. Maybe it's not even Club. You know, it's a team we're not thinking of, Phoenix, something like that, that just looks at that and goes, "Man, he's had a down couple of years. If we can just steer him into a path of mental stability and all that stuff like that, I think he can be great again," kind of thing. So
yeah, I guess the argument is if Nick Romano is still kicking around, why not Mosiman?
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like that makes Romano sound like, well, if he's still kicking around, like.
No, but I mean, like Romano has kind of been on the same path as Mosiman. Barely raced.
Yeah, I mean the last couple of years. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same as Mosiman.
Yes, barely but like, I feel like you're just totally just disregarding the fact that like 2 years ago we rolled into East and we're like, Michael Mosiman could win this title.
No, I'm not.
So,
no, if anything, like, I'm saying that Mosiman is, if Romano is still kicking around, why wouldn't you take a bet on a Mosiman who's actually won before?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Fair. I guess we're positive now on Michael Mosiman.
Yes.
Let's keep it in that vein. A lot of talk at the moment about how Barcia and or Malcolm could be on the chopping block at the end of this year. So, if you had to invest in either Barcia or Malcolm for the next 2 years, who would you choose?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, see, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Barcia?
Yes, like not even a topic.
Yeah, I would probably lean Barcia too. But I don't know that I could give you a good reason why. What's your reason?
Higher ceiling?
Still?
More reliable ceiling?
Still?
More reliable outdoors?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, sure.
No, yeah, it's one of those ideas that is a no-brainer in my mind, so I can't justify it because it's so obvious to me that I'm like, well, what justification is there? It's just obvious, isn't it?
But that's what I mean. Like, if you start getting in the justification, I start to lose it a little bit. Like, to me, yes, I feel like Barcia should be the pretty clear-cut answer. But then also, you dive back into the issues he had last year and how massively that affected his results and performance. And it's like, what if they sign him again and that exact same thing happens? Whereas I feel like Malcolm
same as Malcolm. Look at Malcolm last year.
Yes, but Malcolm, even though I feel like Malcolm was just like 10th all year last year. Barcia had like 3 or 4 weeks in a row where he was outside the top. He was like 15th, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's fair. So
that's what I mean. Like the wave that Barcia rode last year, I feel like would definitely give me a little bit of reservations unless you have a clear-cut number 1 you're signing on that team and then he becomes the number 2.
The question was unclear on that, so I guess you could say, yeah, that is the situation.
Because then I'm with you more, because then Barcia not only provides the flashes that you probably want, occasionally from a number 2 rider, but it's okay if he has the ups and downs, because if you have a number 1 out there going 5th every week, it's not that big of a deal.
Who has a higher chance of finishing on the podium this year, Barcia or Malcolm?
They're like the same to me, to be honest.
Okay, that didn't go how... In my head, I asked you that question. You immediately said Barcia, and then I went, there you go. There's your answer. So that I don't know what to do with your response, because that wasn't what I planned for.
Barcia got on the podium last year, but like, I don't know, man. I feel like Malcolm has quietly been pretty good aside from his crash so far this year. Like, not blowing your wig off, but just like, dude, there he is again. 8th.
Okay. With all due respect, and I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm hating, but I'm trying to debate with you, but it's hard because I don't know what to do with this. Malcolm finally got a good start in San Diego. Much better than his starts last year, and
Where
for
was
some
he lap
time.
1?
Oh, hold on.
I figured you had the stats in front of you. I'm sorry. I can look too.
5th.
Okay.
And then 4th. When was the last time Malcolm started in the top 5? Years ago. In fact, I do actually have that here. Hold on. The last time that Malcolm started in the top 5 was Anaheim 1 of 2023. So, perhaps I was like, here we go, finally. And then we still ended up in 7th. But then also, in fairness, it would have been a shock to him being near the front. You have to allow that process to mature. So that's a counter. With all due respect, that would be my counter to you.
Yes, but I also kind of feel that way about Barcia too. Not necessarily in the it needs to mature, but I do not put Barcia ahead of at least 5 guys that finished in front of him. Like, at any point at the moment, even if he started out front. And I would say the same about Malcolm, but I do think that Malcolm is still building back to what we could have potentially seen in 2023, like you said, when he got a good start at A1 and led in that main event as well. I think that there is the sliver of hope that's still in there. Whereas I kind of feel we're top 5 is the peak for Barcia, getting close to that realm a little bit. You know what I mean?
No.
Okay. So
I
agree
don't
to
think
disagree?
you can argue them. I don't think you can argue that Malcolm has a higher ceiling than Barcia at this point. I think you could have argued that 2 years ago.
Has Barcia had like a catastrophic injury of late that I'm forgetting about?
No.
Malcolm has. So like we have to, I think, factor that into the fact that all of last year was a building year. Like the fact that he even was,
So if you have to bet on a rider to win a race, you're betting on Malcolm.
Win a race? No, I'm out. Like neither.
No, but you have to bet on Barcia or Malcolm. Have to. You're betting on Malcolm. But you have to, based on what you just said, you're betting on Malcolm.
Yes, I will say I would bet on Malcolm.
Maybe I would too. Now, because winning a race is obviously a bit further. I'm signing Barcia for a 2-year deal over Malcolm.
I think I am too, but to me, that's like somehow intangibles that I can't describe, because Malcolm is a fan favorite. Malcolm is a fan favorite, a strong social presence. Again, I think they're both really good dudes too, like not bad people to work with either, which is another factor you have to think about when signing a talent in the middle of the field like that for a team. So I can't think of why I would pick Barcia over Malcolm.
Okay, but can you think of why you would pick Malcolm over Barcia?
No. Like,
so we're flipping a coin.
I think they're the same to me. Like they both have a very similar peak and window.
If I add Anderson to this conversation, Anderson is the obvious answer?
Yes.
Okay. I figured that. That's why he wasn't in the original game.
To me, Anderson, is and look, he was sick this week and had a terrible week, but I think Anderson's getting like kind of this weird unfair rap of like not delivering.
Yeah, he is 100%.
Which is like
100%.
He was top 5 all day long last year.
Yep.
And outdoors too. And I'm like,
well,
okay,
it's just expectation, isn't it? If you expect a lot of someone, then you judge them more harshly. It's what I've said to people for years about like, oh, you were so harsh on X top rider, and it's like, yeah, because I think the world of them. So like, I expect them to be winning every single week because I genuinely believe they're that amazing. Whereas I don't judge X rider on the same scale.
Yes, I just like, to me, like Anderson is still, if Ducati hires him or Triumph hires him or something, like, to me that's hiring an A guy.
Yes.
So,
well, it depends who else is available.
Okay, we had this debate last week, Roxon versus Anderson this year. If you have Roxon or Anderson sitting on the table to hire, they're pretty close.
At the beginning of the year, I would have said Anderson, but now with recency bias, I don't know. Maybe I go Kenny.
Okay.
But that's just as hard as the Malcolm Barcia debate.
Sure. I mean, people will look at
Nobody
the results
knows.
and say, like, no, but I do
Nobody
think it's
knows.
closer. Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Interesting.
Am I done?
Yes, you're done.
With everything?
No, you can go for another topic if you want.
Well, do I need to, or?
We're not at an hour yet, sir, so we could cut the show short or we could keep diving in.
Is this... Okay, how long have we got?
There is 4 minutes left, but we...
Okay, well, this will only be a mini topic.
Okay.
This is the best Chase Sexton we have ever seen. Yes?
I'll say 22 outdoors, he was better than right
In
now.
Supercross, Kellen.
Yes, in Supercross. This is the best Chase Sexton we've seen.
And I justify that by saying I do believe that in 2023 he was faster. But faster does not necessarily automatically mean best.
I think he was sketchier in 23.
Exactly.
He looks
Well,
very polished.
sketchier is a harsh word, Kellen. That's a rude word.
How is that harsh? Do you see...
Sketchy is...
Do you want me to like pull up the Seattle qualifying crash again from that year?
Sketchy is like, oh, like you're watching this guy with your hands over your eyes because every single rhythm section is like,
It got to that point a few times.
No,
for
it didn't.
sure.
That is fake news. And now, just like Kenny last week, Chase is never going to talk to you again
Okay, yeah, great.
because that is just fake news. Are you not going to stop until every rider in the pits refuses to talk to you? Is that your aim here?
No,
is that
I
what
think
we're
you're
angling for?
over exaggerating. I think you're misremembering 23, dude. The quality laps, we would be like, oh, okay,
No,
made it. Yeah,
no,
yes,
we weren't.
yes,
Not at
we
all.
were, yeah.
Oh, I want to text someone. That is not the truth at all.
I think we need to go back to the crash reel. We honestly do.
What was the Seattle qualifying crash?
You don't remember that? He steps onto the table, tripling
That was
out.
2022, Kellen.
No,
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
You were so quick on the draw with the yes.
It was a 20. That qualifying crash was 2022. 2023, Chase's crash in Seattle was in the main event, coming back across the start straight when he folded the front and like did a front flip because he didn't race Seattle
okay. Yes,
in 2022.
You're right. Okay, I'm sorry. That was 20. Wait, no, he raced Seattle in 22.
Huh?
He raced Seattle in 22.
No, he didn't race after that step on, step off incident.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
I think-
misremembering that whole day.
Hold on. Let me check this. Yeah, 2022. He missed round 12.
Interesting.
Okay, we're done.
All right, we're done. That's the end. Lewis is done. He's out of here. Wow. Okay. Do you want to do our predictions? Because last week we did our.
Oh, yeah, shit. Do you know what mine were? I remember mine. Do you know what yours were?
I remember what my good and bad was. I do not remember what I said for our other predictions. The
No,
podium.
we're only going to do the good surprise and disappointment from now on.
Okay, so my good surprise, I nailed both. Do you want to know what mine were?
Yep.
Dylan Ferrandis top 10 after missing the main event at A1. And you said,
Can't believe I let you have that.
Huh?
I can't believe I let you have that. That's such a lame prediction.
Well, you rebutted with, can you give me a main event guy? And I don't remember what I said to that main event guy, but I do remember the Dylan Ferrandis pick.
Okay, I'll give you that.
And then
1 point to Kellen.
my disappointment was I did not think Aaron Plessinger would have a good week, and he crashed out.
Okay, 2 points to Kellen. My good surprise was Mitchell Oldenburg would be in the top 13, which I failed. And my disappointment would be that Hunter wouldn't be in the top 10 again, which I failed.
So you're backwards in both directions. That's okay.
Well, I threw caution into the wind. This week I will do you and go, I think Chase Sexton will be top 10.
How is me saying Aaron Plessinger will have a bad week? I specifically said
No,
not
that's
in the
fine.
top 10.
That is fine. The Dylan one, I feel like if I had heard that clearly, I probably would have jumped him.
Okay. I mean, he got 9th. He looked great. I thought he was very fast this week.
Okay. My good surprise for Anaheim will be Juju wins again. Fair?
Low
Acceptable?
Softball.
Is it?
He's gone 2-1.
Okay. No, I don't want a softball. Okay, my biggest good surprise will be I can't have Roxon podium, can I? Because that's lame as well. My biggest good surprise will be Prado will have his career best Supercross result.
Honestly, I was thinking that too, but I actually...
Which means that he will be... Oh, okay, I didn't realize that he had a 7th last year. Top 6 may be a push, but you know what? We'll go with it. And my biggest disappointment will be Jet is off the podium for some reason.
I was going to say the same thing, but I'm going to flip the Prado thing on you a little bit. And
He will have his worst result ever.
Not worst, but I think he'll finish about exactly where he is again this week.
I'm not accepting that as a prediction.
Do you want to know why? And I'm going to say Jet off the podium too. 2 sets of whoops this week.
Okay.
So I think that they're going to struggle.
Okay, but you can't copy me because that's not...
Okay, I won't copy you then.
Fun. You had the whole time I was talking to
Justin
come up with
Cooper will finish top 5 this week.
I genuinely said that.
And
disappointment.
No. I'm going 250 class. I don't want to pick. No.
Do a KJSC.
My disappointment in the 250 class is Jordan Smith won't finish top 5 this week.
Kind of lame, but okay, we'll allow it.
I mean,
so you're up 2-0.
So.
You're up 2-0. So
do you want me to make a graphic like I do for the Blair Mathis show?
Sure. I feel like we need to tighten up our rules though a little bit. I don't know. I feel like we need to figure out the format of this exactly, but we're moving.
I'll leave that to you, sir.
Okay.
All right. Well, either way, very exciting. Anaheim 2 coming up this weekend. Hopefully no rain in the forecast so we get another good race. Big thanks to Namura, Race Tech, and Partzilla for supporting the show and delivering us the LVK More Than Moto podcast, episode 43 to you guys. Lewis, I'll see you in a couple days, buddy. Anaheim 2 coming up.
I will see you there.
All right. It's exciting, and we are ready to go. We'll see you guys next week to rehash Anaheim 2.